Good morning, everyone. My name is Kevin Baker, and I'm co-owner of Legacy Home Inspections. Our parent corporation is one of the largest inspection companies in the Midwest and the largest in Kansas City. Now, what does it mean to be the largest? While the average company does 300 inspections each year, we'll do 2,300. So we're actually the largest by a very wide margin. The next question becomes, who do you work with? Do you have references? Oh, missed one there. And you can walk through this, guys, James, Kevin, just like you do the 4-minute drill. Here's the CEO, there's Kathy Kaler, there's Brian Huff, there's Sue Walton. What's the key to our I'll jump right into it. What's the key to our success? It's our business philosophy. It's very simple. It's made up of only 4 words, and the 4 words are, it's not about us. Well, if it's not about us, who's it about? It's about you, the agent. And that's just not a slick marketing slogan we use. We don't say it because it sounds good. We say it because it's true. We really did build our company around you. Every service we offer, every feature we created, every program that we've launched was designed for one purpose and one purpose only, to help you grow your business. And what we're about to do here today over the next 45 minutes is one of those things. It's a seminar, a 1-hour seminar designed to provide answers to difficult questions that will enhance your credibility with your clients. The only request I have of you is please ask questions. If I'm the only one talking today, it's going to be boring. So if I get close to a question you want to ask and I don't answer it, then by all means, we'll present it to the audience. If I can't answer it today because of time constraints, I'll stick around and we can talk, after the fact. Now, I'll manage our time to make sure we get done in 45 minutes, but I want you to know I do not want to walk out of this room today without answering any questions that you have. Okay? Great. Now, the most common question I am asked is, as an inspector, what's the weirdest thing you have ever seen in a house? Well, sometimes you walk in a house and you see a drywall with a hole in it, and sometimes the hole looks back at you. We always inspect gutters, and sometimes you just put your ladder up there and see a normal gutter, and sometimes the gutter's looking back at you. Okay, I'm on a roof now. I'm looking straight down a chimney. Can you imagine what the next picture is going to be? Yep, there he is. It's a raccoon. And you know what? One thing about raccoons, do not corner them. They weigh about, 15 pounds. They'll weigh 115 pounds once they get cornered, so be careful. Okay, I'm up in an attic now. What's the next thing I'm going to see? And they will start contributing things here, guys. They'll start saying a possum, squirrels. Some of them will say bats, and when they do, you say, there you go, boom, 30 bats. Now, I took this photo in, well, I don't know if you can say that, but I took this photo in Brookside. I did, but you guys can just say this photo was taken in Kansas City. There were 30 bats in that attic. And, they'll get kind of squeamish and they'll all kind of laugh. And you say, but you know what's the interesting thing about bats? Is that they're a protected species. You know how you get rid of them? You can't kill them. You got to trap them live, one at a time, and release them. There's a company in town that will do that. It's called Critter Control. And they charge $100 per bat, so you're looking at a $3,000 fix on a house to get those bats out of there. Okay, but don't let your mind go too far. And sometimes as an inspector, you walk in and you see a toilet. Okay, what are you going to see next? And they'll say snakes. There's a lot of things they'll throw out there. And you say, you know what? This next picture is one of the best photographs I've ever seen, of the best use of a toilet that I've ever seen. Boom. And you got mirror, they will laugh at that, just almost invariable. Okay, now I need to let you know that our day is going to be divided in 2 halves. The first half of the next 20 minutes is going to be, we will talk about interior aspects. The second half we talk about, I'm sorry, guys, scratch that. The first half of our presentation we talk about the interior. Second half we talk about the the first half we talk about the exterior, the second half we talk about the interior, and in between we're going to take a little break and play a game of trivia just to break up the monotony a little bit. We're going to give away a really cool prize then. Alright, you imagine now that you're walking up to a house. You've got an observant buyer. On the left hand side is the house you are going into. On the right hand side is the other house next door. Now you have an observant buyer. They look at those 2 roofs and they say, gosh, what's the difference between those 2? What do you say? And you'll be surprised that Some will know that's an architectural shingle, some won't. Some rarely ever know that that's a 3-tab shingle. So you just click on. What's the difference in these roofs? One's a 3-tab, one's an architectural. Okay, that's what they're called, but what's the difference? It's the age span. The one on the left lasts about 15 years at most. Architectural shingles, they start at 30 years, can go up to 40, can go up to 50. Cool word for the day, architectural shingle. And if you got the right crowd, you can have them repeat that word. And sometimes they'll do it. Or actually, they'll do it if you ask them to, but some will have more fun with it than others. Okay, let's take a look at the siding now. There's a lot of different types of siding, but we're going to talk about 4 of them in particular. There's wood, there's vinyl and steel, everyone knows about. But look at that one, cement board. Interesting. What is cement board? And you'll be surprised how many people don't know. What is cement board? Yep, it's hardy board. That's a generic name for it. Somebody will probably say that. It's hardy board. Yep. Now what does it mean to be cement? Well, it's 50% wood and 50% cement. It's infused with cement. Very resistant to termites, very resistant to wood rot, and you don't have to maintain it. You don't have to paint it as often. And the 4th one is LP Smart Siding. How many are familiar with that? Very few people will, but there's a lot of houses in St. Louis and Kansas City that have LP Smart Siding. LP Smart Siding, LP stands for Louisiana Pacific Smart Siding. It is wood infused with a resin, making it more resistant to termites, wood rot, and you don't have to paint it as often. Now, it's not as durable as cement board, but it is very durable. So if you see that in a house, point it out to your buyer. Or if you're listing a house, put it in there because it's more expensive than wood and it will last longer than wood. Cement board actually is the next best thing to brick. Okay, here's a great one. You pulled up to a house, you're getting ready to show this house right here. The closer you get, your buyer realizes it's stucco. So one of the questions they will ask is, well, I wonder if that's synthetic stucco. So how can you tell? Number 1, take the thumb test. Sounds weird, but walk up to the wall and press it with your thumb. And if you do, it will give a fraction of an inch, maybe a quarter of an inch in some cases. If it gives, then that means you have synthetic stucco. If it does not give, you're pressing against concrete, that means it's 3-coat stucco, and that's what you want. Second thing to do is tap it with a ring. And if you hear a hollow sound, it means there's a space behind the stucco, and that's synthetic stucco. And the last one is the insulation test. Run your fingers along the bottom of the stucco wall and press upward, back behind the wall. If your fingers touch into styrofoam, that's the type of insulation they have. 100% indicator that is synthetic stucco. This is called EIFS, E-I-F-S, Exterior Insulated Finish Systems. Actually, that's the one that created the problems back in the 60s to the mid-90s. Water was trapped behind the walls. It collected around the wood window frames and doors, created mold, and there were millions of dollars worth of lawsuits and issues with those. They quit using EIFS, about 1994, I believe, 1995, somewhere in that area. So if your house was built after that, it's a guarantee it won't have EIFS. But if they do suspect it is EIFS, and they want to delve into it a little bit further, there's a company in town, in Kansas City anyway, called Bordner. They'll come out and do a sample removal from the stucco to identify if there's any mold issues. Exterior windows. Okay, you walk into a house and you see that, and your buyer says, oh my gosh, what happened to that window? What do you tell them? And I allow them to say, they'll almost always know, oh, that's a broken seal. Yep, that's a broken seal. Now, if I ask you, what's a broken seal mean? What do you tell them? That's, folks, James, Kevin, they won't know. So you tell them, okay, a broken seal means you have thermal windows, that's 2 panes of glass. Now, there's a neoprene sleeve that runs around the perimeter of the window, and if it breaks, the gas that's inside between those 2 panes of glass goes out, the argon. Oxygen comes in. What does it bring with it? It brings moisture. Moisture condenses on the inside of the pane. And it'll get to the point where it's opaque. You won't even be able to see through the glass. Okay, can you fix it? Sure you can. Is it expensive? Depends on the size of the window and the complexity of the job. They do not have to replace the window frame most often, just the glass. There's a good company in town called Fountain Glass that will replace that actually very inexpensively, all things considered. And that, James Kevin, it's at that point where I will say, you know what, you probably already have a really good source of vendors that you work with, but would you like for me to send you ours? It's ones that we vetted over the last few years, and we feel real comfortable recommending them. I guarantee you, James Kevin, they will say, yep, send it to me, send it to the broker, let's get that out. They always love having, dependable vendors. So I'd encourage you guys to create a vendor list over in St. Louis that you have confidence in. A lot of times you can just I got mine specifically from Molly's office, and it was very credible. Okay, cool word for the day, argon gas. Your buyer walks up to the house, and now they see multiple shingles on the roof. And if they're observant, which some are, they'll say, what's that all about? What do you tell them? It's ridge venting. That's how the attic breathes. There's a number of different ways an attic breathes. Far left-hand side is a ridge vent. Then you have what are called turtle vents. Then you have a turbine vent. Those are 3 mounted on the roof. Now, if you look at the soffit vent, it operates as the same function. It ventilates the attic. But an attic breathes. It inhales through the soffit and exhales through the ridge vent, turtle vent, or turbine vent. They won't know that. That'll be an interesting fact to them. It inhales and exhales. It breathes. And you want to continue that circulation. The better ventilated and insulated your attic is, the longer your roof will last and the lower your utility bills will be. Now, I always ask them, looking at the ridge, turtle, and turbine, which of those 3 is the most efficient? And sometimes they'll know, sometimes they won't. You always point out it's the ridge vent. Why? Because if you look at the turtle vent, they're about 12 inches square. The turbine vent's about 12 inches square, and there may be, 4 or 5 of them on top of a roof. But if you look at a ridge vent, it runs the entire length of the ridge. It literally has 10 times more surface space for ventilation than turtles or